Hi, and welcome to CryptoBiography. I'm your host, Brandon Starr, and this is the first of the new format for this show, and I'm going to be doing fiction writing and then reading it out once a week. And so this is episode 1 of that, although I'm still going to keep the episode numbering because why not? So this will be episode 63. Here we are on August 26th of 2018. So the idea is, and if you're watching the video on YouTube, you'll be able to see it, but I actually have it as a Google document, and I'll just be reading it out, essentially. So it can be done as essentially an audiobook sort of thing, or you can read along if you like, or you could even silence my voice and read it that way, although because it's a video, you'll have to figure out a way to, figure out what page you're on and stuff like that. You won't be quite in control of the pages the way I will be. So let me take a drink of water. This will be obviously the raw version of the show, and I'll edit out anything I need to when it comes to the episode that I put out as a podcast. A disappearance. It should have been just another morning, and for everyone else on the planet, I'm sure it was. The only one it was different for was me. I'd always felt different. Partly I'd never fit in, partly I just never seemed to get any traction in my life. I would say I felt like an outcast, except that wasn't it. I wasn't even important enough to be an outcast. My successes were always moderate, my failures were ignored. Outside of my family, I don't think anyone really remembered who I was. If I worked at a job, then left, my name would be forgotten within a week. In a couple of months, no one would remember I'd ever even worked there. I don't even know why. Some horrible combination of my personality and my averager-than-average looks. Average height, average attractiveness, average everything. I lost my virginity at the age of 24 on a rare second date where we'd been drinking. There hadn't been a third. A couple of years later, when I ran into her, she didn't remember me at all. Not my name, not that we had dated, not that we had sex, not that we had had sex, nothing. I remembered everything about Amy, her soft curly brown hair, the few freckles on her nose, which was small but had the slightly oversized nostrils that I had found endearing. I remembered how she smelled when we kissed. When she had said no to a third date, I said goodbye and hadn't contacted her since, but there we both were at the grocery market at the dairy case. You know what? I can't. I was going to give all the details, but I can't. You already know the important parts. We met. She didn't remember me. I tried to prod her into remembering, even hinting that we had had sex. She gets creeped out because she thinks I'm some random weirdo talking to her. She walks away, and I wonder if I'm going to have a police visit. So I've gotten used to sliding off of people's minds, but this day was different. I woke up, put on my glasses, and took my morning piss. Then I washed up and brushed my teeth. That was the first time I noticed something. My teeth. My teeth were not opaque. They were translucent, like frosted glass. I noticed when I put my toothbrush behind my front teeth, I could see a vague outline of the brush through them. Naturally, I figured that either I had sleepers in my eyes, making my vision a little blurred, or I was still partly asleep. So I took off my glasses, made sure my eyes were clear, put them back on. When I put the brush back behind them, the outline of the brush was clearly visible. Shaken, I pulled out my phone. I quickly Googled clear teeth. It turns out sometimes when your teeth demineralize, they can become partly clear. Relieved, I made a note to bring this up to my dentist at my next month's appointment, and to make sure to up my calcium intake, which was weird because I met my ex in front of the dairy case and not by accident. Maybe I have something wrong with me, something not allowing my body to keep calcium. I also noticed that when I was using my touchscreen, I could see a little light through my thumb. It was kind of like when you shine a very bright flashlight through your hand, and you can see the bones and sometimes veins. Was this normal? Was I noticing it for the first time? I decided I should set a doctor's appointment, at least if this continued. Feeling a little odd, I went to work. I do basic coding for a large financial firm. It was busy but dull as usual. No one noticed anything, though Mark, the guy whose desk is to my right, asked, "Are you a little pale?" I didn't have an answer, and he didn't say anything to me the rest of the day, which was normal. I'd felt a little upset all day and ended up sweating more than my usual, which was, of course, average. I took a shower before getting ready for bed. As I looked at my hands, slightly obscured under the stream of water, they briefly became invisible. I started, then instantly my hand was normal again. Had I dreamed it? Had my stress tired me out enough to cause me to doze in the shower? Rattled, but feeling refreshed by the shower, I fell asleep instantly. I can't tell you what I dreamed about. I almost never remember my dreams. They're usually dull, even my nightmares, which are usually about heights or zombie hordes slowly attacking me at work. Repetitious, dull, dreary, and more exhausting than no dream at all. Usually I'm happy not to remember them. Then, the next morning, I carefully look at myself in the mirror. My teeth are visibly clearer. Are they weaker too? Will I soon be breaking them chewing on a piece of gum? If they are demineralizing, then I suppose they are weaker. My fingers may or may not show more light through them. It's hard to tell. My skin seems a bit paler. I don't know what that means. Maybe I'm catching something, or maybe it's related to my teeth and whatever else is happening. I decide to call in sick. Later that day, I get a doctor's appointment. My doctor, Dr. Pamela Park, has the sort of even demeanor I think most people want in their primary doctor. I figure she'll be able to tell me what's going on, or if not, what tests can be given to figure it out. "So what brings you in today?" she asks, smiling. She's 40 or so, a good decade older than I am, short, but with a big yet soothing personality that makes you forget that fact. "Several symptoms have come up. I'm not sure if they're related. I don't even know what they mean," I say. She has me describe them. I tell her about the teeth, about being able to see through my skin with a bright light, and about my pale skin. "Sounds like someone needs to have a better diet and gets outside once in a while," she says, smiling. "Kidding. Well, maybe. Haven't made up my mind yet. Up on here, please." Nurse had already done the basics of blood pressure and so on. Dr. Park asked me to open my mouth, and she examined my teeth. "Well, that's a first for me," she said. "Though I'm not a dentist. Maybe they see this more often. Maybe my patients have this all the time and I just don't know it. Without looking for it specifically, I don't think I would have noticed it. They're pretty clear when you put something behind them, but at a glance, they're almost normal looking." I demonstrated with her ear examination light that you could see a pink circle on the top of my hand when I pressed it from below on my palm. She did the same to her own hand, and nothing was visible. "The light isn't really that bright," she says. "This is puzzling. As to your complexion, yes, it is quite pale," she remarked. "I'm not sure if it's connected. If your sleep has been poor, worrying about your other symptoms, that might explain it right there." "Any ideas, doctor?" I asked. "Not yet. We need a blood test. I want to find out especially about the mineral levels, calcium and so on, and we'll want to find out if this is something affecting your bloodstream or just your teeth. Not sure what to make of the light issue, but maybe these tests will give us a direction." I let out a breath. "And make sure you're eating well." "I will. Be careful with your teeth. I imagine they are quite fragile. And see a dentist." "I will. Any other advice?" If your diet hasn't been balanced, then get it in shape. Normally, vitamin mineral supplements are a waste, but for you, I think we might make an exception. Do you have some at home?" I did, and let her know. They'll do for now. We may have to prescribe something specific once we get the tests back. These are pretty quick. They might all be done today, in fact. I'll contact you." I knew from previous experience with her that routine tests were simply put on the website under my private account. So though she was being outwardly cheery, she was taking my symptoms seriously, which I appreciated. Something she'd said struck a nerve. I hadn't bothered to notice when the nurse had taken my height and weight, but the doctor had asked me to make sure I was eating well. Was I losing weight? I went to my bathroom, opened the cabinet under the sink, and rummaged around till I found the old scale. It was a good 20 years old. I think my parents gave it to me when they bought a new one. Heck, it could be 40 years old. I don't remember why I took it. I set it down and made sure it was zeroed out with the little knob on the side. Then I pushed my hand down with my hand to test it. The gauge spun back and forth and settled again on 0 when I let go. So I weighed myself. I was 8 pounds lighter than I was last I checked when I bothered to weigh myself at the gym. Had I lost it recently? I didn't think so. My body looked the same in its shape. I wasn't eating any differently. I made a note to weigh myself daily. The next morning, I felt sluggish. I had troubles getting out of bed. This was now Friday, and I called in sick again, letting them know I had seen a doctor and was awaiting some test results. I weighed myself and found I was 2 pounds down from even the night before. This shook me, and I went down to eat a large breakfast. I went down to do that, yes, but I found my appetite lacking. I put as much food as I could in me, but it wasn't more than a typical breakfast for me. Some toast with butter, a couple of fried eggs, and some orange juice, no pulp. I popped a multivitamin pill as well, chiding myself for not already doing so last night. I then passed an anxious morning getting absolutely nothing done until I received an email letting me know my test results were in. Logged into my doctor's website and looked up my test results. What I was expecting, I don't know. Medicine isn't my field. I saw a string of numbers, and next to them a range of numbers indicating what was considered normal. A lot of the numbers were low. My heart sank. Something was seriously wrong. Pituitary issues? Cancer? Some weird parasite I got? Goodness knows how? I was still looking at my numbers as though I could somehow be granted the knowledge to understand what it all meant if I stared long enough when my phone rang. It was Dr. Park. "Have you seen your test results?" she asked neutrally. I got the feeling she was hiding some fear or some excitement. "I'm looking at them, but what do they mean?" "I'm working on that myself. Did you notice the pattern? They're all low." "Yes, what does that mean?" "I don't know yet. And not only that, the fewer that are still within the statistical ranges are all on the low side of those ranges. It's as if your blood has been watered down." What a strange thought. Strange, yes, but something's making all these numbers move in the same direction. I'm going to ask around and see what I can learn. At this point, I'm not even sure what sort of specialist I should send you to, but don't worry. I'll keep looking until I find an answer. Are there any new symptoms? I said no, but I did mention that I had weighed myself last night and again this morning was down another 2 pounds. She said, concerned. Well, some sort of digestive issue, something preventing your body from nourishing itself is possible. Eat well, take some vitamins. I'd prescribe some, but you mentioned you have some of those broad-spectrum multivitamins, and let me know if any new symptoms show themselves or if you lose more weight. I'll get back with you before the end of the day, regardless of what I find out, okay? I agreed, and we hung up. I weighed myself several times that day and saw with mounting dread that I was losing at least a pound every time. My teeth were more clear than ever, even starting to lose their milky translucency and becoming fully transparent on the edges. Light shone through my hand more easily, I thought, although each time I tried, which was right after each weighing, I could even see some light right through my forearm when I tried it there. I struggled to get out of bed after a long, fruitless attempt to nap, even as the sun went down. Then, weighing myself, saw that I was not 1 but 3 pounds less than I was just 2 hours ago. I'd not heard from my doctor, so called and left a message with her service. Then I felt a new symptom. As I put down my phone, my skin tingled slightly as though experiencing a mild static shock. Oh, what fresh hell is this, I thought. I tried rubbing my hands together and felt nothing. But when I tried touching my bare skin to an object, holding it for a short time then releasing it, it tingled. I had no idea what to do with this information. I tried taking off my socks, and they tingled. Shortly after, my clothes started to tingle every time they lifted from my body as I walked around. It soon made me want to stop walking. I wished and wished for my doctor to call me back, but I heard nothing. Something's wrong, I decided. I have to write all this down, narrate it, make it so someone will be able to understand. This is all happening too fast. I don't know what's going to happen to me next. What if I fall unconscious and someone tries to wake me unsuccessfully? How will they even know what's going on? Just through my doctor's notes? She doesn't even know about my new tingling symptom or the continuous weight loss. How can I be this much lighter and my clothes still fit the same? I weighed myself down yet another 2 pounds. I went to my computer, my feet now tingling with every step, and started writing this. Now as I complete it, my fingertips are tingling with every letter. I can feel my chest hurting as my frightened heart bangs against my ribcage. I realize now that if I die, there will be no one who mourns me. Maybe no one will remember me after a few weeks. My family will shed a few tears, then move on. The electrical tingling feelings are now evident with every movement. I'm going to make my way to bed, lie down, and try not to move, with my phone near me so I can talk to Dr. Park. Note: this is where the document ends, Walter. The doctor eventually persuaded the landlord that he might be having a medical emergency. When they got to his bedroom, his phone was there, just like he said it was at the end of his document, but he was gone, and no one knows where he went, or if he went willingly or by violence. Note: Oldman. This is the first unusual case that I found. I'll let you know more as I find them. The connections to the various police departments are already paying dividends. We may want to see if we can gain ties in the medical community. If we can find a way to skip the HIPAA laws, we may find more cases like this one. Let me know how you want to proceed. Tasha. And that's the end of the story. So, hope you enjoyed it. I debating whether to do something that was suggested by my friend Tio, also known as Jason. Well, really known as Jason, actually. Where he suggested like talking about my creative process and how I was writing. I guess I'll share a few words and I'll see what sort of feedback I get on it. I've done a number of stories like this before, where the idea is basically to have something unusual happen to a character and see how they react to it. Just sort of see what happens, essentially. So, I had the idea of what was happening if someone was essentially sort of vanishing from their own life, what it would look like, and what the reaction would be. And so that was kind of the impetus behind the story. And I sort of enjoyed actually making it about a character who had, in a way, had already sort of disappeared from his own life, but now had to deal with the fact that it was happening physically, not just psychologically. So I enjoyed writing it. Obviously, not every story that I'm going to be doing here will be a one-time only. Some of them will be part of either longer short stories, or maybe I'll actually try a novel. I've got some ideas, but I haven't been able to flesh out any of them long enough to really make it so that I'm ready to do like a whole novel, and write it in order. I've actually written stuff like that, and it's actually a lot of fun to do. It makes the editing tricky, especially if I'm actually giving out the writing every week, because if I need to change something, how do I do that? Can I do that? Or do I just have to accept the fact that stuff that's already out there is sort of set and kind of write based on that? It's been done before, people have done writing like that. If you look at A Tale of Two Cities and other, most of what Dickens wrote was actually serialized in magazines. So it would actually, and I believe he was still writing at the time that, the first chapters and so on were going out in the magazine. I don't think he had the whole thing written and then just released it a chapter or two at a time. I believe he actually was sort of writing it as it was being serialized. So it's been done before. There are historical examples. So I just need to keep going. So some of them will be short stories. Some of them will be, longer stories, maybe cut into a couple parts. And then if I can come up with a good idea for an actual like novel length story, then I will do that as well. Hope you enjoyed this. If you have comments or questions about this episode, CryptoBiography@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. This episode is being, as far as the video version for YouTube, is being pre-recorded, because it turns out there's like a process to get live events going. I've gotten that going. It'll be ready next week, but I wasn't able to get it this week. So I will put it out as a video, just a pre-recorded video, and then I'll try doing it live next week. So with that, I had a lot of fun doing this. I hope you enjoy it, and please tell your friends about it. Share it in any way you can. I'd really appreciate that. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Words and music, copyright 2018, CryptoBiography LLC, all rights reserved.